Aircraft carriers, the giants of the sea. Aircraft carriers are floating cities, carrying thousands of crew and dozens of jets. Their decks roar with the sound of fighters launching into the sky, one after another. In World War II, carriers like the USS Enterprise changed history at Midway, proving aircraft, not battleships, now ruled the oceans. Modern supercarriers can strike targets hundreds of miles inland, control entire regions, and sail with escorts that form a moving fortress. Bro, when a carrier sails into your waters, it's like a country just parked off your shore, and it brings its own air force with it. Cruisers. Cruisers are the fleet's coordinators and protectors. Larger than destroyers, they carry advanced radar and missiles capable of defending carriers and entire fleets. The U.S. Navy's Ticonderoga-class cruisers are armed with the Aegis Combat System, tracking and intercepting threats from ballistic missiles to hostile aircraft. Historically, cruisers were gunships with heavy artillery, pounding enemy fleets and shorelines in both world wars. Today, their role is high-tech command and defense. They stand at the heart of naval battle groups, bristling with launch cells, ensuring nothing slips through the shield. Bro, if the fleet is a body, the cruiser is the nervous system, coordinating every reaction in real time. Destroyers. Destroyers are the backbone. Fast, agile, and heavily armed, they're multi-mission workhorses. They hunt submarines, fire cruise missiles, and defend against aircraft or drones. The Arleigh Burke class is the perfect example. Sleek, packed with weapons, capable of striking cities or intercepting ballistic missiles. In World War II, destroyers were known as the fleet's greyhounds, screening larger ships and charging enemy battleships when needed. At the Battle off Samar in 1944, tiny U.S. destroyers faced overwhelming Japanese firepower and still charged in. That spirit defines them today. Bro, a destroyer may not look as massive as a carrier, but it can unleash devastation in minutes. Frigates. Frigates are escorts built for protection and endurance. In World War II, they were convoy guardians, hunting German U-boats across the Atlantic with sonar and depth charges. Modern frigates focus on anti-submarine warfare, often carrying helicopters to extend their reach. They're smaller than destroyers, but vital for keeping supply lines secure and patrolling contested waters. Nations like the UK, France, and China rely on frigates to maintain presence across oceans without breaking budgets. Bro, picture a convoy of cargo ships. It's the frigate that silently ensures those supplies reach their destination. Not glamorous, but absolutely essential in both peace and war. Corvettes. Corvettes are small, fast, and lethal in tight waters. They're built for coastal defense and quick strikes. Israel's Sa'ar-class corvettes proved their worth during the 1973 Yom Kippur War, when they fought the world's first missile boat battles against Syrian and Egyptian ships. Modern corvettes carry anti-ship missiles, guns, and sometimes helicopters, all on compact hulls. Bro, think of them as street fighters, not built for long voyages, but in littoral zones like the Baltic or Persian Gulf. They can ambush larger ships and vanish back to shore. They may be small, but when swarming with firepower, they're a nightmare to face. Submarines. Silent and invisible, submarines are the hunters below. Attack subs prowl with torpedoes and cruise missiles, stalking ships without ever being seen. Ballistic missile submarines, SSBNs, carry nuclear weapons, guaranteeing a devastating counterstrike if war ever goes nuclear. During the Cold War, U.S. and Soviet subs shadowed each other in a deadly game of cat and mouse beneath the Arctic ice. Life on board is claustrophobic. Steel tubes, dim red lights, months without sunlight. Bro, you'll never see them coming, but a single submarine can sink carriers, devastate fleets, or hold entire nations at risk from beneath the waves. Amphibious assault ships. Part warship, part invasion platform, these ships are designed to launch Marines straight into combat. They look like smaller aircraft carriers, with decks launching helicopters, Ospreys, and even F-35Bs. Below deck, they carry hovercraft and armored vehicles, ready to storm beaches. During operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, amphibious assault ships projected U.S. Marine power far from home shores. Their roots trace back to World War II island campaigns, when control of beaches meant control of the Pacific. Bro, they're the bridge between sea and land, carrying the firepower to turn a coastline into a battlefield. Dock landing ships, LSD. Dock landing ships are the muscle of amphibious warfare. Their well decks flood with seawater, releasing hovercraft, amphibious vehicles, and landing craft. During Desert Storm, LSDS ferried Marines and equipment to the shore, proving their value in modern operations. They don't carry as much aviation capability as amphibious assault ships, but they're built to move the heavy hardware, tanks, trucks, artillery, that Marines need once they land. Bro, picture an LSD as the sea's delivery truck, but one that rolls up with armored vehicles instead of boxes. Without them, amphibious invasions simply couldn't happen. Landing Ship Tank, LST. World War II's workhorses, landing ship tanks, or LSTS, were flat-bottom ships that carried vehicles and troops directly onto beaches. At Normandy, LSTS delivered tanks and men straight into France, wave after wave, under fire. In the Pacific, they fed the island-hopping campaign, unloading gear onto tiny strips of sand. Their design was simple but revolutionary, a steel ramp that dropped to the shore, letting vehicles drive straight off. Most are retired today, replaced by modern amphibious ships, but their impact is unforgettable. Bro, without LSTS, D-Day might never have succeeded. They were the backbone of Allied invasions. Littoral Combat Ships, LCS. Sleek, modular, and controversial, littoral combat ships are designed for coastal zones. They're fast, agile, and can swap mission modules. One day hunting submarines, the next sweeping mines. The idea was flexibility in contested littorals like the South China Sea. In practice, they've struggled with reliability and firepower, but their speed, over 40 knots, and shallow draft make them valuable in waters where destroyers can't go. Bro, think of them as experimental racers, not the toughest ships in the fleet, but quick and adaptable in the right fight. Mine Countermeasure. MCMS specialize in clearing one of the oldest and deadliest threats at sea, naval mines. A single mine can cripple a billion-dollar warship, and during the Iran-Iraq War, mines in the Persian Gulf nearly shut down oil routes. These ships use sonar, drones, and divers to detect and destroy mines, keeping sea lanes open for the fleet. They're not glamorous, but they're lifesavers. Bro, imagine trying to sail a carrier strike group through mined waters without MCMS. You wouldn't risk it. Quietly, they make every other naval operation possible. Patrol boats / fast attack craft. Small, fast, and often missile-armed, patrol boats and fast attack craft thrive in coastal waters. In Vietnam, U.S. patrol boats prowled rivers, ambushing enemy sampans under jungle canopies. Today, nations like Iran use swarms of fast attack craft in the Persian Gulf, threatening larger warships with numbers and speed. Israel and Nordic navies also deploy them in confined seas. Bro, they're the street racers of navies, not built to cross oceans, but in choke points and shallow waters. They're lethal ambushers that keep even destroyer captains awake at night.